The Cortile del Belvedere, the Belvedere courtyard, designed by Donato Bramante from 1506 onward, was a major architectural work of the High Renaissance at the Vatican Palace in Rome, its concept and details reverberating in courtyard design, formalized piazzas and garden plans throughout Western Europe for centuries. Conceived as a single enclosed space, the long Belvedere court connected the Vatican Palace with the Villa Belvedere in a series of terraces connected by stairs, and was contained on its sides by narrow wings. Bramante did not see the work completed, and before the end of the 16th century it had been irretrievably altered by a building across the court, dividing it into two separate courtyards. Early history and Bramante's design. Innocent VIII began construction of the Villa Belvedere on the high ground overlooking Old St. Peter's Basilica in 1484. Here, where the breezes could tame the Roman summer, he had the Florentine architect Antonio Poliuolo design and complete by 1487 a little summer house, which also offered spectacular views to the east of central Rome and north to the pastures beyond the Castel Sant'Angelo. This villa suburbana was the first pleasure house to be built in Rome since antiquity. When Pope Julius II came to the throne in 1503, he moved his growing collection of Roman sculpture here, to an enclosed courtyard within the Villa Belvedere itself. Soon after its discovery, Julius purchased the ancient sculpture of Laocoon and his sons and brought it here by 1506. A short time later, the statue of Apollo became part of the collection, henceforth to be known as the Apollo Belvedere, as did the heroic male torso known as the Belvedere torso. Julius commissioned Bramante to link the Vatican Palace with the Villa Belvedere. Bramante's design is commemorated in a fresco at the Castel Sant'Angelo. He regularized the slope as a set of terraces, linked by rigorously symmetrical stairs on the central longitudinal axis, to create a sequence of formal spaces that was unparalleled in Europe, both in its scale and in its architectural unity. A series of 6 narrow terraces at the base was traversed by a monumental central stair leading to the wide middle terrace, the divided stair to the uppermost terrace, with flights running on either side against the retaining wall to a landing and returning towards the center, was another innovation by Bramante. His long corridor-like wings that enclose the cortile now house the Vatican Museum's collections. One of the wings accommodated the Vatican Library. The wings have 3 stories in the lower court and end in a single one enclosing the uppermost terrace. The whole visual scenography culminated in the semicircular exedra at the Villa Belvedere end of the court. This was set into a screening wall devised by Bramante to disguise the fact the villa facade was not parallel to the facing Vatican Palace facade at the other end. The entire perspectivized ensemble was designed to be best seen from Raphael's stands in the papal apartments of the palace. Subsequent history. Shortly after, the court was home to the papal menagerie. It was on the lower part of the courtyard that Pope Leo X would parade his prized elephant Hanno for adoring crowds to see. Because of the pachyderm's glorious history, he was buried in the Cortile del Belvedere. The court was incomplete when Bramante died in 1514. It was finished by Piero Ligorio for Pius IV in 1562–65. To the great open-headed exeter at the end of the uppermost terrace, Ligorio added a 3rd story, enclosing the central space with a vast half-dome to form the largest niche that had been erected since antiquity, the nicchione visible today from several elevated outlooks around Rome. He completed his structure with an uppermost loggia that repeated the hemicycle of the niche and took its cue from scholarly reconstructions of the ancient sanctuary dedicated to Fortuna Primigenia at Praenesta, south of Rome. The lowest and largest level of the court was not planted. It was cobbled and paved with a saltire of stones laid corner to corner and had semi-permanent bleachers set against the Vatican walls to serve for outdoor entertainments. Pageants and carousels such as the festive early 17th century joust depicted in a painting in Museo di Roma, Palazzo Braschi. The upper two levels were laid out with of patterned parterres that the Italians referred to as compartimenta, set in wide gravelled walkways. The four sections of the upper courtyard have the same pattern that appears in 16th century engravings. James Ackerman has suggested that the move was a conscious one, designed to screen the secular, even pagan nature of the cortile and the collection of sculptures that Pope Hadrian VI had referred to as idols. Today the lowest terrace is still called the Cortile del Belvedere, but the separated upper terrace is called the Cortile della Pigna after the Pigna, a large Roman bronze pine cone, positioned in front of the niche. In 1990, a sculpture of two concentric spheres by Arnaldo Pomodoro was placed in the middle of the upper courtyard.